propagator's been working its magic, the seedlings have been growing nice and big, and we want to get them outside. But first we have to acclimatise them a little bit, and that means we have to harden them off. So what is hardening off exactly? Well, basically, the seedlings in the propagator haven't been exposed to the trials and tribulations of the outdoors world. They're very small and they're very delicate. They've got little tiny roots and little tiny leaves. If we were to put them straight outside and just leave them outside, the wind, the rain, and especially the sun would definitely have an adverse impact on their health. They would basically get burnt by the sun, they get blown around, and they'd get completely waterlogged. And obviously they do need to live outside eventually, and they're going to be in this outdoor hydro system. But in order to acclimatise them for the outdoors, we basically have to leave them outside for a few hours at a time. A day like today is actually pretty perfect. It's kind of grey, it's kind of miserable, the sun's not out. If the sun were out in full force, not only do you risk drying out your little seedlings, but it can really damage the leaves. So ultimately, try and find a day where it's like a little bit overcast, or a few days in a row where, you know, the weather's not that great, and get them out for a few hours at a time, and then they'll be ready to plant. The main substrate for these is the rock wool that the seedlings have been growing in, and all the roots will grow out all the sides of those at the bottom into the nutrient solution. But I've also packed the top with some cocoa, which kind of looks like soil, but it's not. It doesn't have any nutrients whatsoever, but what it does do is help the moisture stay in a little bit. So I'm putting these into the system, going like that. The roots aren't quite long enough to reach the solution yet, which is another reason for doing this kind of hardening off stage. So I'll put them in like that, and then what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of solution from the system and just pipette it onto the plant itself, so it's getting the nutrients and the moisture that it needs. It's also raining today, which helps, which means that they're not going to dry out on me. Seedlings are in. We'll leave them out here for a few hours today and see how they get on, and do the same again tomorrow. While the other seedlings have been hardening off outside, some of these are ready to go as well. Got some peppers and a little tomato as well. Now these won't need hardening off because they're just going to go straight in the deep water culture system and stay in the grow tent. But it's similar to the NFT, where these little rock wool cubes sit in the net cups, cover them with cocoa coir to keep the moisture in, and then I'll probably have to water them manually for at least a few days or a week, because the roots won't be quite long enough to reach the nutrient solution straight away. But hopefully they'll go nice and big and strong. Before I plant the little seedlings, I thought I'd take the opportunity to tidy up the grow tent a little bit, give it a little clean. I had to take the aubergine out. It was crowding out the whole thing, not leaving much space for some of the other plants. Got a little bit of an aphid problem as well, so spraying down the leaves to kind of get rid of those as much as possible. It's a good opportunity to compare the two different systems. The ones in soil are looking really good. The plants are really big and green, some flowers on there ready to fruit and give us some chilies very soon. The ones in the deep water culture system are not quite as big. The leaves are a little bit yellow around the edges, which suggests they're not getting quite as much nitrogen as they need. I don't think that's down to the nutrients. I think it's probably the pH, and I probably need to rebalance it a bit at some point. The roots look amazing, they look really good. The plants themselves are sort of falling over a little bit, which I think is just down to the size of the net cups. So I'm going to have to rig up something, maybe some string or something, to kind of hold them in place. So the plants have been out for about 10 days now, putting them out for a few hours at a time and increasing that time over the course of the 10 days. And they're looking pretty good. The lettuce is looking nice and fresh. Some of the salad leaves look a little bit crispy, and I probably left them out maybe a little bit too long when it was a bit kind of too sunny out. You can kind of tell the leaves get a bit bleached. But overall they look pretty good, and I'll leave them out now for the foreseeable, and hopefully they'll grow. The chilies in the deep water culture system are looking great. They've got a little way to go yet. They've got to grow quite a bit to reach their sort of big brothers and sisters. But overall, things are looking pretty good.